What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. As we head towards the end of this year, we are expecting some sort of Zelda Anniversary Direct, and now we're starting to see some details get out there. Of course, we're thinking about the game, but also the big movie for next year, and we'll take a look at some of the things that are leaking out a bit early with that here today. Also, we are going to be talking about GTA 6 at Netflix, as a ton of backlash was blowing up online, reactions all over the place, and we also had some new comments coming in from Strauss Zelnick about the event. And we do have THQ Nordic with their showcase. It went on for like 40 some odd minutes. I figure we'll go over everything that was announced there and get it done a bit faster than that, but all of that and more. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button. Helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawn Wave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. Guys, we're every weekday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time, going over the world of gaming news, trying to keep you up to date. And we're here on YouTube and on Spotify, video and audio available there. So just know, if you don't get a notification in the morning, there's probably still a video to check out. And we're going to start today with that fabled Final Fantasy IX remake. This has been rumored and reported on for quite a while, and unfortunately the latest update isn't necessarily good news. Now, this was posted over on Reset Era, and it's from Zone Runners, the features editor at VG247.com, saying there was a Final Fantasy IX remake. It's a single game, and it was very far along, even pointing out some of the references that were made with collaborative Final Fantasy IX tribute content. Unfortunately, right now, though, it seems to have stalled out, and it's not moving forward. Not that it couldn't necessarily get back on track, but for now, not much is happening there. This was kind of in response to the idea of them having to break up some of these older games to do remakes, like with Final Fantasy VI, and sort of that passing comment that was made during their fan fest. So this Final Fantasy IX remake, it's kind of a shame that it seemed like they were going to keep it, I guess, more one-to-one and true to the idea of a single release, and not trying to do some reimagining crazy trilogy that they've ended up so far with for Final Fantasy VII. I don't know what the hang-up was exactly. Maybe they weren't happy with how things were going or the final results that they were getting from it, but I would like to think they'd return to it eventually and take another shot at it, because that is a game that I for Final Fantasy fans, obviously look at 9 as one of the top-tier games, and I do think it would be really cool to see it get a proper remake. Also, Marvel Dokkan Fighting Souls did release, came out on PS5 and PC, and it's not going well on PC. Now, this is over on Steam, and it's currently sitting with mostly negative on reviews, and it's more than 2,000 reviews right now, and a lot of them are basically just complaining about the performance. Now, on the PlayStation 5, it seems perfectly fine, but something about the port to PC is just not doing well. I mean, it's stressing people's CPUs like crazy. The frame rate, which with a fighting game, that's pretty important, is all over the place, and the online play is just downright bad. So I don't know what's happening with this thing right now. Obviously, you feel like they would have to go back, patch it, and fix it, but it's really unfortunate that is becoming more and more of a common thing, as we're seeing just, I mean, not even just PC ports, but just games in general. But this is one that I think should have done pretty well on PC, but now it has that, like that release stigma of it's just a bad PC port, even if they fix it as we go along. So I just wanted to put that out there in case you were thinking about it. Keep an eye on some of the more recent reviews and any news around updates to see if they're able to at least resolve some of the major issues that people are facing here. Oh, and if you're someone who signed up for the Duskbloods with their closed network test, they did start sending out approvals or invitations for people who signed up, and I checked mine. So you have to go to the website here, and what happens is you sign in with your Nintendo ID, and it'll tell you if you've been chosen. I was, so I'm good to go throughout that with the 3-day run where they're going to be doing this in spurts, depending on the time zone. And so it starts on the 21st. It seemed like a lot of people got in, so I don't think this was a very exclusive event. So if you did sign up, check. There's a good chance you probably got in, at least just based on everyone I've talked to. Everyone seemed to get in. I didn't see anyone who got at least any kind of rejection notice for it. So I'm very curious about this, because we're going to be, it seems like right now anyway, going into this network test, and this will be the first time we see any real idea of this gameplay, anything. So I have to assume they'll give us a trailer, an introduction, something ahead of this network test, which, you know, happens in like 2 weeks. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with The Legend of Zelda with the 40th anniversary. As we are all figuring there will be some kind of Zelda Direct happening, I want to say in the next month. I mean, it sounds crazy to go into September when we expect Ocarina of Time, this remake thing, to happen potentially November. That's like a 2-month window from fully announced with their pre-orders open and retailers, of course, in partnership, setting up with 8 weeks or so. That's pretty soon. But there is more to it than just, of course, this big Ocarina of Time release. There's the movie, which is going to be very, very interesting, as well as, I think, of course, merchandise, maybe some fun little wrinkles, something with NSO, I think would be really fun. Something into like the GameCube. Maybe they can do Twilight Princess in there. So that there's a few things with that. But the movie coming up April 2027 is starting to at least take some shape here, because we're getting some of the casting definitely before Nintendo, it seems, wanted to put it out there. And if you remember with the Mario movie, one of the craziest left turns we've ever seen is when Miyamoto announced that Chris Pratt was the voice of Mario, and that was like, what? And he's like, oh, he's so cool. So I kind of feel like there was a similar setup here for the Legend of Zelda movie, where they were going to go through and do some of the other casting introductions, and I guess they kind of missed the boat there because Deadline is all over this. All right, so like we could take a look. This is over on their website. Now we already know Yuli Latukefu, who was, I guess, played Young Rock, is playing Ganondorf, and he's actually signed, it says, a multi-picture deal, which of course implies that we will be getting more Zelda movies as we go along. I don't think that's surprising, because it's very clear that when they did the Mario movie, they had plans for more Mario movies in the future. So I kind of feel like it's a similar thing here, where they're setting up their cast, and maybe it'll be a situation where even with like Link or Princess Zelda, they kind of grow up as we go along. I don't know, because with the games, you kind of jump around, of course, in a timeline, so who knows how they handle that. But, well, okay, we have Ganondorf figured out with a multi-picture deal, seems in place. Now, they say sources tell Deadline that the late Sam Neill will appear in the film. That one surprised me when I read that. I was like, whoa, okay, interesting. Now, of course, 90s kids out there and you know, everything with Jurassic Park, obviously. Big deal there. And when Sam Neill had passed very, very recently, it was very sad, of course, online. But having him be in the film after passing, that is, I don't know, that's going to be kind of this surreal thing to see. I guess it's interesting how that can work out just with production timelines and everything. All right, so we don't really know what role he'll play. Now, the other person that they have locked down for an unannounced role is Yvonne Strahovski. They'll also be featured. So don't really know which roles either of them will be playing, but we do know that Deechin Lachman, who's in Severance. I still have not watched Severance. People tell me all the time you have to. It's on Apple TV. It's like, I don't really want to sign up for Apple TV for one show, but anyway, she's set to play Impa. Now, people are, of course, putting these images up next to the different characters with Yuli against Ganondorf, but I will say Deechin next to Impa, yeah, I could see it. Okay. So, I mean, we're getting the casting now, again, ahead of what I figured would be a direct where they would just go through with headshots and be like, okay, this person's playing Ganondorf. We already know about Link and Princess Zelda. We already had even images from the set that were revealed, and yeah, it looks pretty good there, I think. And so with that, we're starting to have the rest of the pieces fall into place here for a movie that is now 8 months away. So it does kind of line up, I think, to where you have, all right, you have the movie, you have the game, you have some merchandise, and then you have a few other things. Again, NSO could become involved here, and then maybe some other remaster, remake, or anything else. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun for Zelda fans here in hopefully 4-ish weeks or so. I still think it makes sense to get things rolling in August, but Nintendo's weird. They move in different ways, so it really could come down to the wire sometime in September for the big Zelda anniversary blowout, but it'll be a lot of fun when it finally happens, and it seems like the movie is going to be certainly an interesting discussion point there with Link, and is he going to talk? How much will he talk? Because that's always a big thing too. So that was actually the poll question that I put out there, and we'll actually check in on that later in the show. Next up, let's talk about GTA 6 and Netflix, as we will have a Netflix special presentation later on in August for the game, and I guess that's going to be our first look at gameplay for it, we assume at this point. And yes, it is technically behind the Netflix paywall. 6 hours later, we'll be going to YouTube and other social media platforms, although it's still up in the air as to how this is going to work with copyright striking and stuff. Again, we'll touch on that a little later as well. But Strauss Zelnick did talk about this a bit with IGN. He was actually making the rounds quite a bit, and he kind of has to since we're months away from this massive release with Grand Theft Auto. Well, he was talking to IGN about this whole Netflix deal. We can see this, where he says, I think Rockstar felt that a Netflix release would be a great way to show off the extended trailer. Now, he didn't go into any specifics on the deal from the streamer or Rockstar itself, in which people were asking that a lot at the investors call with analysts. They were trying to, it seemed like, get some kind of indication as to how much Netflix paid them, who approached who. It was back and forth, and he was really tight-lipped on the whole thing. Says 6 hours later, it will be available on Rockstar's YouTube channel, and I think ultimately on many other outlets. And I think this is an example of Rockstar trying new things and marketing the title, and I hope there's much more to come. He goes on to say, well, as you'd imagine, I'm only going to say great things about Netflix. They're probably paying quite a bit for this. Says if you're not a Netflix subscriber, you definitely should be one. And as for the trailer itself, it's coming soon enough that I'll let you arrive at your own conclusion. I'm sure you're going to watch it because everyone is. All right. Thanks, Strauss Zelnick. It's interesting he called it a trailer, though, because it sounded like at first it was kind of being hyped up as, a first look, an experience, a presentation, a trailer. That also kind of indicates that it's not going to be that long, but that doesn't make any sense. So why would you do a Netflix special for something that's like 2 or 3 minutes? This to me sounds like something that would line up for 20 to 30 minutes. And I almost wonder if you would have even a look within Rockstar, like people at Rockstar would be talking to the camera, almost like one of those like documentary style things. And they try to explain the game itself. Here's the thing. Look, again, people are really concerned about that. I see a lot of backlash online, and it's kind of annoying because I'll tell you why I'm annoyed. I don't know what the coverage is like for this. Is Netflix going to be out there striking stuff down constantly? It's really hard to say. Like, can I share a screenshot? Can I share 10 seconds worth of a clip? I don't know. And so it's going to be kind of touch and go there. Someone's going to try, and we'll see how it works out for them, and then we'll, I guess, play it by ear. But for Grand Theft Auto 6, it really is an outlier, and I know some are concerned that, oh wow, does that mean that Kingdom Hearts 4's big reveal is going to be behind Disney Plus? Is Nintendo going to partner with Hulu? And no, I don't think so. I at least for now, I think this is just GTA 6 being the outlier that it is, and Rockstar and Take-Two just securing more money. Probably tens of millions of dollars just from this Netflix deal alone. That's really just a 6-hour exclusive window. And that's kind of it, and they probably got paid some crazy amount of money. So just them finding more and more funding to pay back what should be the most expensive game ever made. And I will tell you this. Right now, with where the expectations are, my expectations, I assume I'm going to see the greatest game ever made. That is where we are, and I think it's actually fair to say that with how it's being built up right now. So there you go. We'll find out in a few weeks here. If nothing else, they've certainly done a good job raising the hype meter for many people online. Maybe if not the hype meter, the curiosity meter, I'm sure, because now everyone's trying to figure out, why is it on Netflix? Strauss Zelnick at one point said it's, you'll know after you see the presentation, so I guess we'll find out later this month. Next up, let's talk about an id developer having some harsh words for Microsoft. And this was in a recent interview that popped up and was going crazy online because the person still works at id, and it wasn't like an ex-employee that was, just tell all about this. No, they still work there. And they do not seem happy with Microsoft right now. So we can see this was transcribed, and this was over on IGN, but this is the lead service programmer Chris Hayes at id Software talking with Well Played on YouTube, saying, so if they've got some kind of new plan for how this is going to work, that hasn't been told. We don't know what that is. This is referring to the layoffs and id Soft losing a lot of talent there, saying the reassurance that we're still the same id and we're still going to do things. Well, first of all, we're not the same id. We're half the same id. Id was the people. What made us special was the people and the relationships we have. There was a lot more that went into each of the Doom games that went along. We made bigger and better games, but that's with twice as many people as we had. So we have fewer than we had before. So we are going to make something equivalent to a single-player Xbox 360 game because that's the size of the studio we have. We can have guesses just like everyone else. I know that we have serious issues with how Game Pass is done. Whenever you see the Microsoft financial reports that say there were, poor sales under Bethesda, what's a sale if you have Game Pass? Are you saying that poor sales means poor numbers of games sold because, of course, you're not doing a game sold business model. They fundamentally don't understand art. They don't understand art. They don't understand games. They don't understand that business model. I mean, like, geez, that's some serious stuff right there to say about, yeah, you're a employer and you're still working there. But obviously this person just watched it, which Microsoft was kind of, the way they were talking about it, they were making it like, oh, it's glass half full. It's not that bad. It kind of sounds like id is like less than half even at this point than where they were before the layoffs now. So do you expect them to go out and make a follow-up to Doom the Dark Ages on that level? No, not really. Do we expect id to go forward to maybe being a support studio? I mean, probably, unless they start rehiring for certain greenlit projects that all of a sudden start coming through. It kind of feels like it is going to be relegated more to the background and just sort of helping out with the technology side, which would be a shame. But I mean, the fact that it is calling out the Game Pass stuff, and that it is weird, I will say, if you have a model like Game Pass, and then you also point out poor sales for a game, but then Game Pass is right there, that's tough, because you ask the studio to almost overcome what is a model that is designed to take sales away, at least a la carte sales, but isn't there supposed to be some kind of measurement for how many people are playing, say, Doom the Dark Ages? Did people sign up and then the first game they played was Doom? Because that, to me, is an indication that they signed up for Doom, or like if it was the first few games they played, or, something like that. I know Doom did release on PC and also on PS5, so I'm not sure what the sales were like there. But the fact that id got gutted as much as they were, it probably tells me they weren't up to a certain standard. And again, was that Game Pass? Well, was that Doom itself just not being as good as it needed to be? It's hard to say, but I mean, when you have an employee working there who is seeing this stuff from the inside out and is like, they don't understand art, they don't know the business, that doesn't bode well for Microsoft and Xbox, especially like I will say the previous leadership there, and now Asha coming in, who is trying to kind of learn on the fly. Man, the Microsoft stuff, the more you hear about it, the sketchier it sounds, but this is part of their reset. So we'll see how things work out on the other side of that. It was a 100-day reset, and we're actually moving through it pretty quick right now. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about that THQ Nordic showcase. I'm going to try to go through it pretty quick because honestly, I was looking at it and there wasn't anything too crazy there. There was one omission that people were hoping would be here, and well, it wasn't. So we'll start from the top though. And we have Wreckfest 2 with early access. There's an update on that one. Way of the Hunter 2 is out September 29th. The Guild Europa 1410 got a new trailer. Call to Arms Panzer Elite got a trailer there. We have Expedition Samurai early access out now. That one actually looked kind of interesting. Titan Quest 2 the Spirit Mastery update is out now. We have DigiArt's next game that's in development. The Eternal Life of Goldman, hoping for a release date. Nope, got a new trailer though. It's still on Game Pass apparently. Disney Epic Mickey Rebrush that's coming to Switch 2. Sacred 2 Remastered coming to Switch. SpongeBob SquarePants Titans of the Tide coming to Switch. Destroy All Humans 2 Reprobed that's coming to Switch 2. Gothic 1 Remake. There's post-launch plans that includes a photo mode, mod kit, Marvin mode, and further fixes and polishing. The Gothic Classic Trilogy. The first one is out now. Number 2 is out in September, and then 3 will be rounding out the rest of this year later on. And then Gothic, A Show's Quest, it's a board game campaign that enters crowdfunding at the end of September. Reanimal, the Prisoner DLC, that adds 2 new characters, that's out now. And then THQ Nordic, their final end card says they have 29 games in development and 12 are still unannounced, and that was the end of it. Okay, so it's interesting to close out the presentation just saying you have 12 unannounced games that are in development. You feel like you probably have something, I don't know, a big reveal maybe that you could do something with. I don't know, Darksiders 4, that's what a lot of people were going in hoping to see. It didn't pan out. I mean, if you're a Gothic fan, you're like, oh, this is really cool. There was some stuff in there, but like it wasn't the big reveal that people were hoping necessarily to see more of. And I don't know, it's just kind of THQ Nordic. Sometimes they show up with this kind of a presentation that's kind of just, okay, I guess, and just kind of move along. There weren't any massive headlines necessarily that came out of this, but I wanted to get you guys up to date so you know exactly what was shown there. And before we go to the comment of the day, we'll take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I ask, will Link talk in the Legend of Zelda movie? 82% say yes, 18% say no. Maybe I should have reworded that. It's like, how much will Link talk, I guess. like, I think they'll have Link talk somewhat in the movie. And then, I mean, in the games, he does talk. He's not mute technically, and you'll see him do gestures. He'll tell people what his name is and stuff, right? So the thing is, he doesn't really talk much. I think that's been mentioned. Like, I feel like Zelda had mentioned that at some point, that Link doesn't talk much. So he's kind of reclusive then, but he does a lot of gesturing in the games, and I almost wonder if they will take that and move it over to the movie. But the point is, in the game, you are supposed to be Link, so they don't necessarily want Link to talk a lot for you, I guess. But in the movie, you're just kind of a passive viewer, right? Like, you're not controlling Link. So with that in mind, and the fact that the movie will be trying to reach an audience that is not at all familiar with the source material, who will think it's weird if the main character doesn't talk that much in the movie, I kind of think he will. Now, I think it would be really cool if they attempted to pull back on some of the dialogue and went with the idea of, yes, gestures, facial expression, cinematography, ways to kind of convey what Link is thinking or feeling, as opposed to just saying it out loud Marvel style at times. So that's the big question mark for me going into it, is really comes down to Link and how exactly he's portrayed. Not necessarily just to the Zelda fan who is obviously going to go to see this, but maybe just someone who's really not into the games at all, thinks it's an interesting looking movie, and just decides to go out one weekend to check it out. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from Padirn, who says, I give it 20 minutes before there is a re-upload to YouTube within that 6-hour window. There will absolutely be re-uploads to this thing. The platform I see stuff show up all the time that shouldn't be there is Twitter. The other day I was scrolling through, and the entire movie for Spider-Man Brand New Day was there. And it was maybe an hour old at that point and was still there. So if there's any platform you want to keep an eye on for it, it's probably Twitter. I'm sure someone will just be recording the whole way and immediately upload it there, and you'll just see it. I guess you can technically download it, watch it yourself, rather than wait 6 hours for it to go to YouTube. So I will say this. Of course, it's not worth signing up to Netflix to watch this. At least that's in my mind, because if nothing else, you can see more about it later on that night when it shows up on YouTube, or most people will just be sharing all kinds of information, the point by point summary. You'll have reaction videos popping up online. It'll be pretty easy to get the idea of what was shown there, and then follow up later on YouTube or other social media platforms. Again, this is just more like a publicity stunt, I think. Well, for Rockstar and Take-Two, it's more a money thing. But for Netflix, they just want to get people talking about Netflix, aware of Netflix, and maybe try to connect it somewhat to the Netflix gaming arm, but I guess we'll see if they attempt that one. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. If you missed last week's Newswave, I'll leave it up here in a card. Or maybe you want to check out a really cool update for the Xbox 360. If you have an older one in the closet or something you haven't used for a while, you can actually completely open it up, like soft mod the thing completely with just a USB flash drive in like 10 minutes, and it's super reliable now. I did a whole video looking into that, and I'll leave it right below. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.